Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Wednesday, the 26th of August, 2020. How are you doing today? I am the amazing Super Chris, your host. Wednesday, we're halfway there. You know my love for the weekend. I really do enjoy me some weekend time. Very, very unlikely that somebody's going to call me and expect me to be a grown-up on the weekend. So I crave the weekend. It doesn't really happen very often during the week that somebody calls me and asks me to grow. But anyway, we're halfway there. We have got John Funk from Atheist Incorporated. He's joining me this morning as my co-host, and Rob from Easism Works, the Easism Works workshop. He's going to be joining us, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to learn some stuff about cannabis. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome to Shakespeare with a Redneck. What the? I am Wild Bill Wigglestick, and I'll be your handsome host, your gilded guide, your cowboy concierge of Shakespeare. Dude, really? Today on Shakespeare with a Redneck, I'm going to perform the prologue from Romeo and Juliet. Damn it, Bill. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Hey, that wasn't half bad. I'm not as dumb as I look. Of course not. You'd be in a coma. Okay, so here's a quick rundown of the situation. Bill, two snot-nosed brats ignore the warnings of their learned parents and end up getting 4 people killed. Bill, come on, man. You're always blah, blah, atheist stuff, blah, blah, boring. Say something fun, for goodness sake. What? Particle is a fun word. Bill, particle. Bill. Or talk about horses and dogs. People love horses and dogs. Or boobies. Everybody loves boobies. Bill. Oh, can I say boobies on YouTube? If you close your eyes, it doesn't count. Talk about boobies then. Okay, everybody loves those cute little blue-footed bastards. It hurts right here. Culture, baby, coming at you. Avoid bringing a plague on both your houses. A plague on both your houses! By hitting that subscribe button, then that little notification bell. And bang that thumbs up button like frisky cousins at a family reunion. Thank you and take care. Peace.
Viral. Hell, it didn't make it all worthwhile if I could get that.
Good morning, John. Sorry, the commercial's over, brother. I got a little thing, maybe a 5-second alarm going deek, 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 let people know it's coming. Anyway, good morning, John Funk from Atheist Incorporated. He's also the host of Reading Funk on YouTube. Right. Wonderful channel. He's where he reads and reviews books. Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Really well this morning. The weather here in Ohio is looking rainy. I've got to go out here in a little while, so hopefully I survive that. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good.
Wonderful, wonderful. We've also got our guest this morning, Rob. How you doing, Rob? Rob from Easism Works.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me back on. Doing well. Waiting for the sun to come up here in California.
Are you? Yeah, it's fixed it too. It's early for you, isn't it? It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. It's an ungodly hour. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat and the damnation. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Epileptic Skeptic, you snuck in. I didn't see you. Good morning. How you doing? Trina DeLuca is here. Good morning, Trina. Ian Davenport. P is here. Oz is here. Hola, Oz. I want to be on Oz's show, I think, next Monday. The coming Monday. Yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. And Maynard Saves is here. We still need to do a show for Maynard Saves. He's got a thing. What was it? Dune? No, it wasn't Dune. I wrote it down somewhere in my notepad over. Anyway, I got to do a show for him. Paul Camish is here this morning. Derek Cruz. Wow, all the cool people are here. Jim Majors. Saw him in the audience earlier. He was a co-host on the show a couple times back in the past. Good morning, everybody. We've also got the wonderful people watching on Facebook. Actually, more people watch on Facebook. I'm all, wow, look, we've got 20 people watching on YouTube. And then I go look at the Facebook thing. There's like 250 people watched on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, because we broadcast to almost, I guess it's almost almost 20 Facebook pages and groups. So good morning to everybody on Facebook and to our Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast. I actually hit start this morning, so you guys are going to get the show because yesterday I forgot to hit start. Didn't get the show. Anyway, so good morning to everybody, and of course the YouTube reviewer who has to go back and watch every show. Hi guys. John, Rob,
Yeah.
how are you doing?
Doing good, man. I'm here to talk some Canna education.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to touch on the ECS and how it works and why it's so important and vital to survival. It doesn't have anything to do with cannabis. Cannabis plants are not the cause of this system. They're part of the system. And kind of want to go through the history, get rid of some of the stigma, and kind of start talking about dosing and why people get addicted and what to do to not be addicted and to realize that it's just a therapeutic. I'd rather call it a supplement than a drug, but it is a drug. And
whoa, what are we talking about here? You want to start with the ECS because you're covering a lot of ground.
Yeah.
ECS?
No. This is
what
part
is
of it. This is part of it. I'm trying to explain the ECS. Okay, so the ECS is the endocannabinoid system. Okay, the endocannabinoid system is found in all mammals. I think they're starting to find it in insects. It's been around since before the dinosaurs. It is what causes or helps, and its main purpose is to set homeostasis in the body, in all systems of the body.
Awesome.
The reason they found out about it, and the reason it's called endocannabinoid, endo meaning internal, cannabinoid because they were studying the cannabis plant. That's why it has the cannabinoid label. Cannabinoid receptors are on every single cell of our body, and what they do is it's actually really quite interesting because without this system, we wouldn't be able to deal with stress, deal with sickness, deal with anything. It literally sets all equilibrium. That equilibrium goes off, and medicines are introduced. Cannabis is just kind of pure source of it, an external pure source of it, and we're still trying to study how it actually works and how to use it properly on the body. That's why it's so subjective. And number one, if you are on medications, stay on your meds. Do not come off your medications. Yeah, don't just like switch it off and say, oh, we found a miracle drug because we found out that it's part of the biological system. It's actually the largest biological system of neurotransmitters and receptors in our body. Okay. And it's important to understand that we're still trying to study this, and there's so many variations of these cannabinoids, over 100, that pinpointing them and actually understanding how to go about using them is the trick right now. And until we get that straight, be very careful, and I'll kind of try to get into how to identify what's good and what's not, how to actually do research and find out what products are safe to use and not what it's the common whatever it is out there.
Real quick, Brainbug, good morning, Brainbug and Godless Granny. Brainbug points out that the endocannabinoid system is present in his invertebrates as well. So,
Thank you,
so I guess they can get high too. If you want to go stone your
this is not about getting high.
Invertebrate.
This is not about.
I was just making a joke, tiny joke.
Yeah.
Just inserting tiny joke.
That's what the problem is here. It's been demonized. It's been put into a category where it's quote unquote bad for you. You don't need marijuana because the body naturally produces these endocannabinoids. They're neurons that get transmitted with enzymes into receptors in our body. When our body goes through a stressful situation, we naturally produce these cannabinoids, and they they attack inflammation, they attack digestive system, they attack anxiety. Their main purpose is to help you deal with that situation at hand, and that balance is hard to understand when you don't know where it's coming from. You can literally attribute this to understanding how your emotions and your feelings work internally. People perceive a feeling like pain. They can sometimes attribute it to sadness. You are basically, your body's responding to a memory, to a constructed memory of what pain, sadness, happiness, whatever it is. You will then respond to those particular thoughts. Your body responds to those thoughts by preparing itself. It sees stress coming your way. And the endocannabinoids, they pretty much act as a balance, so that when that stress is coming, you know how to deal with it. When sadness comes, you know how to control your sadness. Don't go hysterical crying. Some people can't control that. When it comes down to happiness, people are overwhelmed. They say, I feel a tremendous amount of love. And it's just an overwhelming feeling, because your body's naturally responding to this memory by increasing your heart rate, by slowing down your heart rate, by making you sleepy, by making you alert. These are all chemical reactions in the body that are controlled by endocannabinoids naturally produced in the brain.
Okay.
I think my brain is one big cannabinoid receptor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could say that. Every cell in your brain has receptors for cannabinoids. CB1 and CB2 are the receptors. CB1 is located in the brain in the spinal column, and it's responsible for memory, thought patterns, pain. That's CB1. CB2 receptor is located more in your immune system, the other parts of your body, your digestive system. And these receptors receive endocannabinoids from the brain called 2AG and then hold on, anandamide. Anandamide is referred to the bliss molecule. It is commonly known for representing runner's high. Okay, what the blissful experience that you get from doing yoga or exercise or having sex, that's produced by the brain. The 2AG is the other receptor, which has to do with pain and memory. If these receptors, when these neurons are fired off, go through your enzymes, and your receptors receive them, whether it's CB1 or CB2, you have a chemical reaction that will make you feel blissful, that will make you feel tired, that will make you feel happy. And that's how the balance is controlled naturally in the body without the use of any plant. And we discovered this because we started seeing these effects that cannabis was doing. It was discovered, THC was discovered by chemist Raphael McCollum. I always mess up his last name. And he identified the THC back in 1964. It took him another 20, 30 years, and it was at the end of the 80s. And in 1992 is when he discovered not just the CB2, the cannabidiol, the CBD, but that's where he discovered the ECS system. And he found out that, wow, this stuff is in everything. And this is what actually helps us live and what helps us deal with our day-to-day external stresses that we have to manage. And he did it all because he started seeing these incredible positive effects on patients. People who had Parkinson's, epilepsy, certain cancers, they were able to deal with their ailments, because there's no such thing as a cure. Okay, we're all gonna just decay. That's just what we do. And the process is being able to deal with that decay. They found that smoking marijuana helped deal with that decay, and they wanted to know why. And by accident in 1992, we find out that it's part of this biological system that helps us be who we are. And again, you don't need the plant. The plant is not the cause of this. It's just an external source to help you deal with stuff.
You get that. So those of us who want to get the runner's high without running, That would be me. Yeah, because I noticed earlier I made the high joke, and we kind of jumped to, let's not vilify it by glorifying the part about being high. But I'm like, wait a second. Rarely do people sit around talking about, you can de-germify that wound with alcohol. No, they sit around going, this mess you up. You should have this good stuff. That's what they talk about. And they don't vilify that. The part is obviously, you know what I'm saying? That whenever somebody gets hurt drinking, then obviously they vilify those things now, or that's what they should vilify. But why should we vilify those who want to enjoy, just enjoy the high of getting weak? And of course, sometimes we have people who are enjoying getting high, right? That's technically, let's just set that over here. Sure, they're enjoying getting high, but secretly, and they don't even really realize it, they're also treating their anxiety. They come home every night from work, and they just want to get high. They just want to get stoned because they're just stupid stoners. But really what they're doing is they're taking that medicine that they're taking to deal with the anxiety. They don't know it, as far as they think they're just getting high, But there's that's real, very real for a lot of people, where they use it as medicine.
Correct. So it comes down to a point of it's not about how much it takes for you to get knocked on your ass, but how much you need to be a functioning part of society.
It depends on your goals.
Right. Yeah. Like how much do I really want to
goal. That's what I'm saying. Either one is a noble goal. If I want to go, how much of this does it take to knock me on my ass? Yeah. I want to know that. That's just, or if I have a medical need. Obviously, there's a true medical need. I'm sure there's true medical need for alcohol. But people don't generally glorify whatever that might be.
And that's what basically, the fact that it's so essential to our survival is why it kind of becomes an addiction, because you supplement the natural endocannabinoids that your body produces by smoking, I got to take, by smoking the plant, the bud, the actual production of THC. Now, there's a difference here. THC and CBD are two different components of the plant. There's many more. There's hundreds, okay? But these two in particular seem to be the ones with highest concentrations of cannabinoids. And there's a big difference, because the THC, the tetrahydrocannabinoid, that's what holds the the psychosomatic part of it that kind of alters your perception, okay, your awareness. And then there's CBD. Now CBD is what we would call the medicine. This is the cannabinoid that interacts with all the other receptors. It's not. They describe it as, so see the THC as a flat object. Okay, it's flat and it fits into the receptor one way. It has one purpose. The CBD, when you look at the chemical compound, the little hexagons, there's a break in it. Okay, and that's how you can identify the difference between THC and CBD, because they're almost identical. But that break allows it to kind of bend and makes it 3D. And when it goes into the receptor, instead of going in one way, it goes in all ways. And then therefore allows more endocannabinoids to last longer in your body, allowing the body to produce more endocannabinoids to deal with the situation. Because the main purpose of these endocannabinoids is to disrupt. There's a problem, there's inflammation. Their job is to go in there and set and lower the inflammation so that you feel better. Homeostasis, that's their main goal. The difference between the external plant of cannabis versus a prescribed pill is that pills tend to, although they're extremely effective, I mean, if prescribed properly and taken properly, they will stop the they will disrupt the unbalance, right? And making you feel happy. If you have depression, you get antidepressants. But what they also do is that they don't allow the production of new brain cells, which cause these neurons to fire off and make you happier. Cannabis allows the body to produce more brain cells. Yes, you kill it by smoking, mixing it up with tobacco and all this other stuff, but instead of it blocking and preventing the body from producing more. It's helping the body produce more of these these brain cells, causing the neurons to fire off, causing more endocannabinoids in your body to respond and making you feel better and deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with: pain, inflammation, depression, anxiety, bad stomach. One of the best things to do for a nauseous stomach is smoke, you know, and then well, that leads into why there's different forms. I don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but I kind of want to touch on it. There's a reason why it's concentrated. Not everybody can smoke, and then there's many ways of doing it. There's safe ways, there's bad ways, and that's where it gets technical.
Right. Well, I mean, I appreciate some of you. I appreciate some of your description. It's not as easy as some of that, though. You know, it calms the stomach, but some strains hurt the stomach and cause you to get nauseous.
Right.
Some strains cause relieve anxiety. Other strains, I smoke some. I'm like, oh man, what the hell is going on? I feel like I gotta do something. I'm being irresponsible. I mean, there's this overweight. You know, it just varies from strain to strain.
That is the imbalance that they're trying to figure out when it comes to strains. That's why when people will eat a brownie that has high concentrated doses of THC or CBD, it's too much. So when you eat it, your body overreacts. Your heart starts pounding. You get more nervous. You get more anxiety, more paranoia, and you freak out. You end up in the doctor at the hospital, and they're like, "Look, just breathe and relax. Nothing's wrong with you. You just had some cannabis," and it's your body having too much of those neurons popping off, and you're just freaking out.
I've never had to go to the hospital for it, but yeah.
No, I have friends. I have friends. I have stories. No, it's really bad.
You know, I know that CBD is used a lot as a medicine, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. For me, it doesn't seem to do anything, but THC is the medicine in my case when it comes to counteracting anxiety and you know, all the great benefits that come with that. You know, THC is the medicine.
THC is not the medicine that's causing you to relax the way CBD would. What you're experiencing is the euphoria of the psychoactive part of.
Well, what I'm saying is that marijuana intoxication is actually medicinal for me.
I mean,
in the way that if I were to consume just CBD, that I would, to my own conscious experience, not get any effect from that. Because I've tried the vapes and the pills and everything, and I know that people really sleep better and they're in less pain and everything with CBD. But when it comes to the medicinal aspect, THC is what counteracts my anxiety.
So what you have to start understanding is that THC is not the medicinal part of the plant. I understand the therapeutic aspect of THC when you can't sleep, when you have pain. It goes into that state of mind that you need to be in to deal with your problems. But just like Chris said, every strain is different. What works for one person doesn't work for the other. So,
I also said we have to validate those people who just want to get high, and getting high is their therapy. And don't downplay that. I mean, that's what that's kind of what he's saying, is that the getting high part is what makes him feel better, i.e. that is his medicine.
So in order to help use the plant properly, you have to be able to identify which one does which. Now, there are there's cannabis plants that are being grown just with CBD that give you the exact same effect with one with THC. You get that psychosomatic. You get the to enjoy the ritual of rolling a joint and smoking, or doing it in a bowl, or whatever it is that your ritual is to enjoy the marijuana. You're literally smoking pure CBD with little to zero THC present in that particular plant. So it's important to educate yourself on which plants have what type of percentage in it, because you can have that euphoric psychoactive effect from the placebo of smoking a plant purely CBD, from the aroma, and we're going to get into terpenes and why they're effective, and also again, the two chemical compounds are very, very different, And one is extremely effective for dealing with ailments, and one not so much. And
I think just the opposite of that is true. It seems to me that the intoxication is the medicinal aspect. And I understand that CBD is a medicine for various different ailments, even as far as, potentially cancer preventing agents. But I just can't say enough about how important that intoxication is for me when it comes to sleep and anxiety.
And I'm a guy who has purchased bad weed, and I have rolled the weed. I've gone through the placebo of rolling the weed and licking it and going all through the great things and then smoking it. And then there's not enough whatever it is that makes my brain go ding. And I'm like, this is unfortunate. It's not doing the thing,
Right.
So that's what I want to learn. Is it THC that does that? Now, if you're saying that I can actually literally get high from smoking a CBD joint with no THC, that's cool. I just don't understand it. And I don't understand the vilification of why every time we talk about getting high as part of the purpose of it, you start to explain that we don't understand what we're talking about.
I just explained how too much of any endocannabinoid, whether it's produced by our body or external, will give you will have your body react. So if you have a CBD strain high in CBD, when you smoke it, you're going to get certain psychoactive effects, regardless of it being heavy or light with THC.
Yeah, good point. I'm betting that crap weed I was talking about probably didn't have good CBDs in it either.
Yes, because they could be
no THC, no CBD.
Here's where it comes into
oregano.
So those are one of the components that the marijuana plant produces naturally. Right. Terpenes come into play. As a grower, what you start to do is you start getting into the botany of the plant. Right. You have to start understanding that the terpenes, which give you the aroma, are present in just about everything in the python world, the plant world. The lemons have limonene, when you smell it, that terpene is inside the cannabis plant. That's why you have flavors like lemon kush or such and such. The most prominent is myrcene. There's about over 60% of this is the most abundant terpene in the cannabis plant. Myrcene is in just about everything in the world, like just about every edible stuff, fruits, vegetables, meats. It's been known to help treat diabetes, Alzheimer's. The list goes on and on and on. Now, these terpenes, once you start getting into the growth, is where the grower needs to pay attention on how that particular plant or strain develops these terpenes, so that they can be extracted properly with concentrates and used as medicine, whether it has THC, CBD, or whatever have you, so that's the right percentage, the right dosage, and people can say, okay, I know I can take this product regardless of what it is because it does me good.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Let me copy this over here. Okay. I'm just posting a link over to our...
Are we going to have a poll here today, Chris, or are we not doing a poll?
I tell you, I could not get those. Thank you for asking. I've tried to get those other chatbots working, and I have not been able to get them working. Streamlabs, the one that I was doing the poll in, would sometimes kick in around 25 to 30 minutes into the show. He'd finally go, hello, I'm here. Like as a drunk stumbling in, hello, I'm here. Anyway, so it finally, and then, but the other one tried Nightbot. Nightbot didn't seem to show up at all. And I don't know why. I mean, you go there and it's like engage channel, where you link your channel to them. Like Streamlabs. Streamlabs does work. It just takes it 25 to 30 minutes before it ever kicks in the stream. So I haven't been able to figure that out. Stream chat. Let's see, what's it called? Nightbot is the same as the other one I'm talking about. I tried Nightbot for a couple of days and it just didn't show up in the stream at all. I gave it access. I follow the things. I think it may be because I'm going through Mob Crush. But apparently Stream Elements doesn't have a problem with it, and it seems to work. So I went back to Stream Elements so I could get my timed things out there. And now, hopefully, it'd be nice if Stream Elements had a poll.
Yeah.
because that would be good to know. Because one of the things I think what I'm going to have to do is, and I've got questions here in the chat. I keep scrolled up for him. I've got what I'm going to have to do if I'm going to keep doing Weed Wednesday. I'm going to have to just educate myself on it, because oftentimes I'm sitting here going, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know if it's right or not. So,
right. What you need to do is find you a good article by like a doctor or something and read through it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of part of what he's talking about.
Go ahead.
That's part of what he's talking about, is that it's complicated. You know, they're doing studies, they're doing research. In our experience with the THC or the weed, cannabis we've purchased from various different stuff, they used to come with a little spider web looking thing on it, which would tell you, like, it would have like a graph that told you whether it was for comfort or ease or sleeplessness. And they kind of they're trying to take all that various information. CBD, I'm sitting here going, well, wait a second, this one's got lots of CBD, or not CBD, THC. It says 28 or 30% THC, and I'm not getting high, or the high isn't lasting, or it isn't that good. That's because it's more complicated than that. It is CBD or what we recently started doing was the terpenes. We've already made a list of the local plants that we utilize and their percentages, and have been putting, now we've started adding the terpenes on there, because apparently 28 CBD or 28 THC and 0.1 CBD, even though they can both be the same amongst different plants, two different plants have that same thing, it doesn't mean the same thing. The effect is going to be different because there's other variables involved.
Yeah, you know, here's something that is kind of a unique thing for me, and most people don't have this experience, but let me know in the chat for the viewers what you think about this. I've tried a lot of different varieties of marijuana, from you know, just a lot of different stuff, and edibles and concentrate, and all of the strains produce the same effect for me. Like sativa and indica or mixes, I get the same exact effect out of all of those substances. And I know that a lot of people say, well, this one does something different than this one does, or this one makes me sleepy and this one makes me a go-getter. And I just like get the same high every single time. So that's kind of something that's unusual about me, I think.
Not me.
Where are you getting your stuff from? That matters.
That may have something. Well, yeah.
I am
sure
getting it both from the dispensary as well as outside of the dispensary.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So that has a lot to do with it. So
I have a question for Rob from the chat.
Yeah.
A question for Rob from the chat. Now that you're back, brother, hate to do the thing. Epileptics. Oh yeah, he's making coffee. Epileptic Skeptic wanted to know, because I didn't really go into your background on the show, and there was a reason. Normally when I do an introduction, I try to tell people, you're just Rob from Easism Works, and there was a reason for that. So let me just go with this question. What's Rob's background? Sorry, I think you missed you saying why are you on the subject? Why are you here on the subject? You know what?
Yeah, we should have kind of started there. We kind of jumped into it. All right, so
you said you didn't want to say certain things, so I didn't want to say certain things. He works for the FBI. No, because of your job or whatever you do. I just remember in our talk before, you said you didn't want people to know certain things. So carry on, tell us.
Yeah, I've smoked weed my whole life. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a botanist or anything. Okay, I've just been smoking weed my whole life, and I ended up dealing with fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis. I deal from chronic pain, depression, and throughout the years, marijuana has helped me. Now, I ended up learning about how the neurological system works, and stumbled upon noticing, oh, wait a minute, marijuana has a huge deal with why I respond well to it, why I actually feel better. And I got into it. I got into learning how to grow it. I got into some of the botany, and I educated myself. I learned a great deal about it. It helps me. It helps me therapeutically in ways I can't describe. So I needed to know what I was ingesting and why. It was my own education and my own interest as to why. And now I can actually sit down and have a conversation with somebody and say, hey, look, I'm somebody who suffers from really horrible ailments, and it's helped me. And when I listen to the professionals and I follow, like, for example, the chemist who discovered this, okay, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. Hope I'm saying it right. He's from the university in Israel. Hebrew University in Israel. He's been on this for 50, 60 years. And you watch some of his seminars, you read his books, and yeah, like this man is actually breaking it down and saying, hey, look, it works for this, but it doesn't work for this. And we need another 100 years of studying this before we can actually apply it, because there are positive results. There are scenarios where it works, you know, and then most of the time it's just therapeutic and subjective to every single person, because we are all different. Our systems inside are made differently from each other. We're all going to respond to things differently. If I drink enough coffee, I'm passing out. Okay. If I smoke weed, I can run a mile and back.
Yeah.
So
I can run 15 miles when I smoke weed.
He does the running. You know? He's into the running.
Yeah, I used to run. I used to do track and field. So I
run from like here to the refrigerator. And then, well, it's more like a saunter.
I'll tell you what, though, that marijuana really does help me as far as the distance that I can go and how into it I can be. And I'm listening to my music and whatnot. And without that, it's kind of like I'm grinding the whole time. But I'm in when I'm, you know.
Well, you know, I do see that's one of the things. Like, there's a science to it, as Easism is trying to explain to I'm clearly ignorant, and I've said that every time. He said, well, let me talk about my experience. I've smoked it all my life. I thought, that's my qualification. That's all I got. But now I kind of want to know. There's a lot more to it than before. Before, I got to say, you know, back when I smoked weed, working in the oil field back in Texas, you got what you got. It wasn't this strain or that strain. You know, you couldn't afford this strain or that strain. We call it dirt weed now, but it was just weed, you know. It's just it came over probably in a gas tank of a car kind of thing, and we just smoked it. Now we're all, oh my goodness, this was grown in, you know, this kind of soil on Thursday. I can't smoke this weed. But okay, I guess I can, you know, but there are some. You were asking about the difference between indica and sativa, and man, at first I was one of those years, many moons, I smoked the weed. I'm like, I don't really notice a difference either. And then we started getting from the places where you could get the pure indica and the pure sativa, and I have noticed a difference.
That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, that's no longer. The reason that you find everything so similar is because the majority of the strains out there are now hybrids, which is a mix of sativa and indica. And the more studies they do, the more similarities they find, that they're not so different after all. It all depends on the
Some of the strains here at the local dispensary actually are 100% either way, rather than being mixed. I know there's a lot of 80-20 mixes and whatnot, but
we're splitting hairs over a point. I was just making a point. That's all. Just making a point. Whether it's 100%. Okay, go ahead.
No. I'm just trying to put some insight into it. There's no such thing as 100%. That doesn't exist.
So when I buy a product that says it's 100%, what's the issue with that?
They are talking about. Sorry, they are.
Because I know that sometimes I'll choose one that's labeled as 100% sativa or indica or ruderalas.
So what they're trying to describe there is that
then it shows like the CBD level in it, and I've noticed that, and I don't know why this is the case, but like the higher potency strains, because it also lists the THC percentage on the packages, like the higher the potency with the THC, it seems to me like the lower the potency will be with the CBD, and I don't know why that's the case, but
so one overpowers the other, and THC will never reach a percentage higher than 36% of potency. That is the highest, and I think I'm going over by quite a few.
That would be an extremely powerful strain if it was that strong.
Yeah, that's as high as it goes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you can buy one that's either 100% sativa or 100% indica, regardless of the actual potency of the THC.
There's the sativa, indica are just names. They don't indicate anything on potency. They can explain that it's just a sativa plant or just an indica plant, or it's a hybrid, which is a mix of the two.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's no percentage of anything in the name.
Let me ask you this, because I just found an interesting fact here. Shit, of course I've lost it now. Yeah, so anyway, today the cannabis family of plants can be separated into three main groups: cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, and cannabis ruderalis. And I've actually seen a package with this on it. I've purchased and smoked it, but I'm just curious, what is that third strain about that probably most people haven't heard of?
Ruderalis is pretty much like it's a hybrid. Just like I said, it's they've taken the best of both worlds and they're genetically modifying them to fit the needs of those with ailments such as chronic pain, anxiety, migraines, you name it. And the genomes are being broken down, and it's a matter of you trying it. Does this work for you? More power to you. Just remember, it's a plant, and the more you smoke it, the more chances of it going extinct. So you will run out of your medicine.
Okay, so we have something here from Jim Majors in the chat. Says, can you please talk about how far cannabis geneticists and breeders have brought cannabis, as in the yield, the concentration of compounds, etc.? I have to say that it's more powerful than when I was a kid, or at least what I smoke seems more sturdy than when I was a kid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that goes to what Easism has been saying, is as far as the research and the science, and there's been people. So back in the day, they just grew weed. Here it is, and then they finally started, working towards making it do certain things.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Regulation steps in here. In order for it to be deemed safe, it has to be.
Well, I'm just answering the question. Let me answer the question, okay? And then he says, then you were talking about how the guy was so they start understanding what does what, and over time, these scientists and geneticists can do certain things to breed it in certain ways that can give a certain more specific effect. Now, of course, the regulations that you're going to talk about, that's fine. Marijuana has been harmed horribly by regulations. I'm just saying. Cannabis, the whole thing, has been horribly vilified by regulations. But to his question, there has been because of the knowledge they've gained through the study of it. And I think most of this knowledge, with the exception of a few outside sources, like he mentioned, I think, wasn't he from Europe somewhere, that researcher you were talking about earlier, Ease?
The chemist who discovered THC, CBD, Raphael McCullough.
Where was he? I thought he was somewhere else.
I
thought he was European.
He's from the University of Israel. He's a chemist.
Okay, so he's not from America, because America has vilified this, and we don't really study it. Most of what we know in America about this, I think, has come from backyard growers, independent growers, doing their thing, learning their thing, and it's not been something that's been officially studied like most other things have. Now we finally got this vilification of it, and people are starting to really study it, and there's just this confluence of information about it. This does this, this does this, the people I buy it all from says there's sativa and there's indica, and there's a certain percentage of this and a certain percentage of that. And I mean, I gotta say, I buy it from 5 or 6 different places, and they all kind of say the same thing. And now you're saying they're not; they're all wrong. And I think I think we're all getting wrapped up in terminology and getting stuck on these words. They're not wrong. It's just percentages of.
Okay, so let me explain. So, getting back to what I was saying, this is where regulation steps in. Regulation, to deem it safe, needs to be approved by the FDA, the FCC. The problem with intaking concentrates in particular, and even just the natural form, chemicals, they've learned how to grow it organically, okay? Organically in the sense that there's nothing extra added to help it grow. They just use whatever natural products.
They learned how to do that? They had to learn how to grow it naturally without.
This is at least in the United States, a good 30 years. In California, they've been finding out every grower has its own method. Every grower will make its own batch. Yeah. So everybody has their own method. Now, depending on how they grow it, how much sun it gets, how much water, how much you baby it, because that's what it takes. You want a strong yield, you want a marijuana plant that's going to be potent and do its job, you have to treat it like a child from beginning to end. From seed to the moment you harvest, okay, all the way down to the trimming, and make sure that you don't bruise the bud. So in getting back to what I was saying, in order to deem it safe, it needs to go through a process of scrutiny. The biggest problem with the concentrates that were going up, especially in vapes, is that they were just labeling them 100%, right? Oh, it's a sativa and it's 100%. No, that's not what it is. What it was is, this is a Schedule 1 narcotic. It's still federally illegal. Colorado, I think, is the only one that hasn't that is legal. Okay, so because of that, processing it into a concentrate is considered manufacturing and a felony. In order to get a permission to do this, you must go through the FDA, FCC, Department of the DEA. Okay, you have to go. You can search all of these licenses on the website for the drug enforcement. I mean, for the Department of Defense. All these contracts are there. So in order for them to manufacture this legally, they need these permits, okay? And they have to abide by these regulations to deem it safe for people to smoke, because when these products first started going out, people were getting sick, not so much from the chemicals used to make it smokable like e-liquid, but from mold, pesticides, other fertilizers that just were not healthy for human consumption. And those are the problems. Yeah, so these problems, people are just making them at home. In order to make hemp oil, you need a solvent. The easiest and fastest way is butane. And then they burn off by bubbling off the solvent and scraping up the resin. That is highly dangerous, one, to make, and two, to smoke. But that is how it's made. So unless you have regulation and clean machines to do this, it's incorrect. And there's where your potency comes in, because you're no longer taking the actual DNA of the plant, using it properly, concentrating it properly, and you're just taking, hey, the majority of people take whatever they have, they mulch it, regardless of hybrid, sativa, indica, regardless of what it is, they mulch it up, turn it into oil, and sell it, and label it whatever they want. So it's very important to find out, first and foremost, there's only, in California, I think there's 2 manufacturers legally, and the umbrella everybody. It's an umbrella, okay? Find out what the main manufacturer is, find out what their legal vendors are, who is legally registered to buy these products from these manufacturers and sell them legally. Since it is a Schedule 1 drug, it cannot be transported. So it's not like you have a brand like Cookies from California and you're going to find it in New York and be like, hey, look, Cookies. Now, if Cookies applied for the licensing in New York and they're allowed to sell it, that's another story. But that means that they're processing in New York, and the quality of the marijuana changes, because marijuana is highly sensitive to its environment. And there's where your potencies start to come in. And the next step is dosing. Dosing is the most important part about this. It should be done slowly and then slowly increased. Unless you have like high tolerance, check with your doctor, and you start at a high tolerance, high dosage, and work your way down. Finding that is the trick. Everything is different. There's so many variations. It's impossible to pinpoint right now.
Yeah, those poisons that can be found in many weeds. Actually, to go back to a question you asked me where the weed comes from and that I smoke, and the weed that I don't get at the dispensary generally is coming through the mail from California. It's incredible how much California actually produces for people outside of California.
Be very careful. That's highly illegal.
Yeah. Yes. I realize that. I'm not incompetent, but
so those
I'm not having it sent to me, of course, but I know that where I'm purchasing it from, that's how it's coming in, is from California.
That's how it gets around. Hey, look, let's be honest. Like it happens. Okay, it happens. They don't care about little things like that. They don't have the budget for that shit. They care about people trying to do major moves. So right now, for example, there are these 2 brothers who are in New York. I forget their names. I forget the name of the case. They're in New York. I don't know if the case is still active or it's already passed or what's going on. They in New York, you can only sell concentrates and edibles. The sale of flower is not allowed. So the business revolves around hemp oil. Hemp is not illegal in the United States anymore, and it has an incredibly low percentage of THC, okay? They ordered 100 pounds of hemp, and I don't remember if it was California or Colorado, but they ordered 100 pounds of hemp and they had it sent through FedEx. FedEx calls them up. What are you doing? They stopped this treatment. They were like, all right, here's my lawyer, here's my paperwork. It's all legal. Send it through. FedEx sends it to the NYPD. NYPD asks them to come get it, and they arrest his brother. It's in the courts right now. They have every legal right to do it, but simple things like that are seen, as illegal. Because
they're illegal.
Because it's scheduled. It's a Schedule 1 narcotic, and that happened because Nixon wanted to piss off the hippies. That's it. That's why it's a fucking Schedule 1 narcotic.
Incredibly stupid that marijuana is scheduled on a federal level with things like heroin and all these dangerous drugs and shit, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And when you're in a state where marijuana has been legalized recreationally and medically, the federal police will still come in sometimes and arrest people, and the local sheriff will just stand by and watch. I watched one of those on YouTube the other day where the local police were like, there's nothing we can do about it, and they're taking all this weed out of this place. It's crazy. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, over here in California, so here's another thing I can only speak for California. Every state has their own laws as far as how it goes. So, for example, rounding it off, and I'm exaggerating by 50 or so. So every year, an X amount of licenses and permits to own a dispensary or a farm goes out through the city. Yeah. And you have to apply for them. And it's crazy because it's formed to break you and see if you're actually willing to go through with the process. It's expensive and it's just gut-wrenching. Anyway, so in total, there's supposed to be 100 legal dispensaries in the county of Los Angeles alone, not the state of California, just the county of Los Angeles. There's, let's say, approximately only supposed to be 100 legal stores. There's over 1,000, okay? Because of the laws that when we were here in California, we were a medicinal state, and we voted for recreational, destroyed it. Like it was the worst thing that could have happened. Our rights were taken away. We're no longer patients and caregivers. It's now recreational, and back to square one. You're only allowed to buy this. You can't grow this. You can't do that. And if you want a licensing, you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to go through City Hall and pay more licensing, and it's just money for permits to collect rainwater. Like, fuck you. So, yes, it's all about taxing. It's all about making money, and the point I was trying to get at is that those extra 900 or so dispensaries are not abiding by, they're not buying their stuff from licensed growers, from people who take care of their marijuana, from people who actually, get their stuff tested. They're just literally growing it upstairs in the attic and bringing it downstairs to the store and putting it on the shelves and selling it without any particular type of testing or actually knowing what it is. Because marijuana comes up with a new name every day. There's a new strain and they name it. What do you want to call it? Call it Atheist Incorporated OG. And they don't know if it's sativa, if it's indica. They think it's this. Now you can tell physically the palms of a sativa are very long. They have 7 points and they're very long and skinny. Indicas, I believe, have 6 points. 6 points? Forget. It's fat and stubby. And the indica is a mix of the two. It's a little stubby and a little long. So that's how you could tell just by looking at the particular plant what it's whether sativa, indica, or hybrid. The rest
that's actually a false fact. All marijuana plants will, when you look at the leaves on marijuana plants, they'll have either 1 leaflet, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, or 13. And that can be true on any plant.
I grow. And the distinction between sativa and indica is very distinct. There's
we'll just agree to disagree with that. I've got a fact and a question for you guys here. I want to let the viewers know here. Cannabis ruderalis is actually not a hybrid. Listen to this. It's a low THC variety or subspecies of cannabis, which is native to Central and Eastern Europe and Russia. Many scholars accept Cannabis ruderalis as its own species due to its unique traits and phenotypes, which distinguish it from Cannabis indica and Cannabis sativa. So it's actually a very closely related plant that produces the same intoxication. So that's actually pretty interesting to me. I'd like to get a hold of some of that. But here, I have a question for you, Chris.
Me too,
because
actually.
you were talking about how the fact that nowadays when you get marijuana, it's always this real nice stuff, right? And when I first started smoking, there were like 3 distinct groups of marijuana. There was the nicer stuff that stunk and whatnot. And then there was this shit that we called mids, okay? It would oftentimes come in a brick, and you could tell that it was this compressed, compact thing. You could even get a corner sometimes where it was literally like the squared off corner of the brick. But I'm just curious, have you ever seen this shit? Because I was smoking with a younger person not that long ago, and he said something to the fact that there are no other types of weed. You've got your lower grade and then the upper grade, but there was actually something worse than that brick weed, and I called it commercial weed, where it was this low grade. It was almost brown sometimes and spindly with a lot of seeds in it, and it just barely intoxicated you. Have you ever seen some shit like that?
Well, you know, I think it's all comes back to what I was talking about earlier. There's this very complicated mix of, it takes so much of this and so much of this to do a certain amount of this, the kind of effect we get. And we used to call this skunk weed. There was skunk weed, then there was just normal everyday weed. You know, it wasn't until modern days that we started to get the real. Other people probably could afford the highs or whatever. I was always poor, never could afford the highs. I just got the cheapest weed I could get. Then whenever they started doing medicinal and started having dispensaries, and I was able to actually go and look and go, this is and God forbid I actually say 100% cannabis or indica, but this is a mostly indica, or this is a mostly sativa. And I started learning that this one will actually put my ass to sleep, and this one will make me walk around pacing and thinking, and that I could reliably go on that. You know, I never knew those things before. And but beyond that, I mean, there's just more to weed than I know. And I know that my ignorance is bounds when it comes to cannabis. It's actually
become a science now. Like, even when I started smoking 20 years ago, like, it had begun the science of it, but it was like nowhere near what it is today. Back when I first started smoking, if you had some of that brick middle grade stuff, you actually had some good bud. I actually referred to that shit as good green 20 years ago, but like, they don't have that too much anymore.
Yeah, all that was hemp, and you were smoking pure CBD.
Yeah, well, I would strongly disagree with you on that as well.
Yeah.
I know that CBD does not intoxicate me because I've tried the
that's the whole reason why it's legal here and are in certain places, and THC is not.
It don't do shit to a person.
Do you understand why it's brown? Do you understand why it's brown? Do you know why it's brown?
That's the color of the concentrate.
It's over 6 months old. No marijuana is grown brown because of photosynthesis.
Well, I just have to give a rebuttal here, because I don't think you have. I think you know very little about what.
And the compression involves water, which
I think that you're someone that's a big fan of marijuana, and then I believe that you've looked into some of this stuff. But I think that you've probably gotten more than a dozen things wrong here in this conversation. So I don't know how to reply. So I'm done.
Yeah, see, my deal
I'm
is
not asking you to reply. I'm just telling you what I have known from growing and doing my studies and talking to professionals. I'm highly involved in the industry. For years, I was involved with the marijuanadoctors.com, who worked with the Cancer Association of America and Canada in trying to identify and categorize the genome of every strain. I've been involved in this for over 20 years. I have a good deal of knowledge of what I'm talking about. On top of the fact that I actually grow the plant myself.
It seems to me, I could appreciate your joy of the plant because we share that.
I didn't come here to argue or rebuttal or ask for rebuttal.
But you seem to me like a religious person that thinks they know what they're talking about, when in all actuality they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
You really want to make assumptions? You want to go down that road? Like, I didn't argue.
Guys.
But I was done. I said I was done.
No. Now you're insulting. Now you're telling me that you're making assumptions about what I believe, who I am. You do know me, dude?
I know we spent an hour here, and almost any time I said anything, you would tell me I was wrong. I even mentioned it.
You guys are sensitive, man. Nobody's telling you you're wrong.
I couldn't even get to the end of a story where I was trying to tell about sleep, and I'm like, how much weed this has.
You asked me to come on to talk about it.
I know.
Really, Chris? Really? This is what your morning show is? Like, wow.
No, hey, are we going to go there? Because listen, dude, I listen to this. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And you half the shit you said was just like, what the hell, dude? I was regretting. All right, let's not do this. This is kind of a bunch of shit.
Look it up.
I've looked up several things that you've mentioned that are wrong, but I'm done.
I forgot.
The cannabis
but that's what I'm saying. Wait. All the people, I made a point earlier about how I made a point.
Sativa is a strain. It's not a plant. You can't.
It's not a plant.
It's not. It's a strain.
No one said that was the case.
The way you're describing it, trying to say that the C sativa is
and then you'll say I'm wrong about how they're not different, and then you'll literally go on and say this one's completely different. It's got this many leaves, and it's got this one's got this, and it does that.
I'm trying to teach you something. Like, that's it. I'm just trying to teach you from experience because I can tell the difference from growing and learning.
No, listen, you're not hearing the words that are coming. That's the problem. A lot of times you just haven't even registered what I'm saying. You start to say,
it's brown. I don't think it's brown. No. It grows. Like, do you know why it does
Who said anything about brown? Who gives a damn, dude? The more you speak, the less I believe you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, the Daily Atheist Show just went to shit, man. I agree, Jim.
It's the best fucking morning show there is, motherfucker. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments.
Yeah, dude, they're talking about you, brother. Easism. They're talking about the fact that you don't know your shit. Go read his responses. He's leaving because of you. Not because of me, because of you. So, thank you. Wait. All right. Let's stop. Let's stop this now. Let's stop this now. This is not what we do on my show. John, we've done the hour.
Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about and chill out before we close out the show?
So I've done 2 interviews here this week. They'll be coming out probably later today and maybe tomorrow. I interviewed the theoretical physicist and idealist philosopher Minaz Kafatos about his idea of a cosmic consciousness. And yesterday, I interviewed the author of Nailed, David Fitzgerald, a big celebrity in the atheist community. So I'll be editing that one later today and putting it out on my channel, Atheist Incorporated. So go over there and subscribe. That's all I got.
Awesome. Rob, do you have anything coming up that you want to chill out? Any show appearances or anything like that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, there's a couple of things coming up. I'm actually helping a friend start a channel. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, but it nothing to do with any of this idiocy, philosophy bullshit everybody's wasted time on. It's just
Me too, in fact. I'm starting a sci-fi channel to get away from this bullshit.
Yeah, this
Sorry.
is some dumb shit. People think they know what you believe and what you think, so it's just stupidity. Yeah, we're just trying to do some hood shit. Oz, if you're watching, peace, my brother. We'll get it going, and then I'll be on Neil's, the 604 Atheist, September 21st, I believe. And I'll be in and out. I'll be popping up in and out.
Gotcha. Well, you know, I don't normally like to argue on the show because I walk away and I always go, man, why did I say that? Or why did this happen? I don't like that. I don't like those things on my show. I appreciate that you came and you talked about the cannabis and the things that you did. I appreciate that. John, thank you for showing up. After going through this, which, you know, these kind of shows are the kind of shows I don't rewatch because I don't like watching me argue with somebody. It just doesn't do anything for me. Now I'm going to try to do a review of this Star Trek Lower Decks after this. And I'm like, man, you're just going to put a corkscrew in one eye the first part of the morning, then go put a corkscrew in the other. Just a lover of self-suffering. I'm just not much into that show. Anyway, so I want to go do that on my sci-fi show so I don't have to worry about the religious craziness over here. Although, what'd you call it? Philosophical...
nonsense.
I was going to say bullshit. Philosophical nonsense.
I might have said bullshit.
But, you know, I don't know, though. I'm afraid. Now, tell me, I fear that what's going to happen is I'm going to go, look, you know, I hardly ever deal with Christians who are pissed off at me, and I hardly ever have to argue with Christians who blah, 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 blah. You watch. I've started this sci-fi show. I'm going to end up arguing more with fellow nerds and being more vitriol and hate and ugliness from fellow nerds about Star Trek than I ever dealt with.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, die, scum. Anyway, all right, guys. Thank you both for the contrarian fun. It was fun. I like it when I don't have to do a lot of talking. Thank you to everybody in the damn nation. I'm Weed Wednesday. This is probably the last Weed Wednesday I'm going to do until I learn about weed. I don't know enough about weed. This is all my fault. My ignorance has been exposed here. I'm going to go do that voodoo that I do somewhere. You guys have a great week. The end of the week, I hope you get to the weekend to be wonderful. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to Facebook. Thank you to all those people listening on the Daily Atheist Morning Show podcast. I am TF out.